Hello, and welcome to the first ever episode of the Redneck Finishing School. I will be your local redneck, Chris. What sort of kind of describes me as a redneck? Well, I live in the South. I've lived here all my life. I don't know any real other way to do certain things, and I have a blue-collar job. I think that's a real important thing when you're a redneck, is that you have to work on stuff. But it's just the Southern way of life that I see things from. We're going to get started here on the Redneck Finishing School with the reason why I called it the Redneck Finishing School. There was just so much that I wanted to know about and had questions of, and that's why I wanted to go ahead and do this podcast, because I'm going to try to have interesting people on there. My first show, I'm going to get my buddy Jason. He had a very interesting trip to a place that not many people have really heard firsthand accounts of. We may see what's on the news and everything, but he was actually there. A little place called Venezuela, very hot in the news as of yet, and I'm very interested in like what he has to say. He's told me a little bit about it. I don't want to spoil it for anybody, but when he told me, I was just like, wow, you got to be kidding me. That really happened. He's like, yeah, that really happened. And I'm going to try to do an upload every week just with new people. My first two are already planned out. I'm going to have my buddy Jason on first with his trip, and then the second one should be a little funnier. We're going to have my buddy Jared on here. Jared's a real interesting guy. He's lots of things that he's done. He's sort of my go-to as far as whenever I have a question about anything in the world. Plus, he's also going to teach me how to work this equipment, because I bought all this stuff and I have a very, very loose concept of how to use it. He's an audio guy and has been for years, playing guitars and different things. He actually was the one I consulted and said, hey, man, I'm thinking about buying this. What do you think? He's like, yeah, great company, buy it. So here we are. We're also going to have different segments. One I'm going to do is called Chris versus the Internet. I spend a lot of my time through my business on the internet, on Facebook sales groups, buying things, and I see a lot of stupid things. And it's not just going to be about Facebook. We may go to the Twitter, talk about that, and find some stupid stuff on there. But really, the one thing I wanted to do right now, and one problem I've had, is on the first ever Chris versus the Internet, episode 0 of the Redneck Finishing School, stupid people working on their vehicles. It's a real common thing. I'm in a sort of kind of a multi-regional group that is many, many different places. They cover a lot of different areas in the South, Mississippi, Alabama. I've seen people from Georgia. There's been even people from the Northeast. But the people that are really the issue are some of the kids that are building stuff down in Mississippi and Alabama. They buy these four-wheel drive trucks and they try to put these lifts on them. And have you ever seen a dog squatting while they pee? Like, that's what it looks like, basically. And they'll always get on there and say, no, I installed the lift right. And I'm like, dude, seriously? I mean, Stevie Wonder can even see that that's not correct. You know, when you've got a huge tire gap in the front between the fender well and the tire, and then there's like nothing between the rear end fender well and the rear tires. It's like, dude, that does not sit right. And they always try to do this like jacked up dog squatting pee thing. I'm like, really, dude? Is your truck, incontinent? What's going on here? Maybe you need to install the rest of the lift. And they're like, oh, no, man, we got the rest of the lift in there. And I said, and it still looks like that? And they'll always try to argue. Another thing I love that they do is when they try to sell something and they want me to price it. It's like, dude, you know what you want for it. I mean, you can show up in my yard right now, anything you want to buy, and throw out a number, and I know what I want for it automatically. But apparently these guys are selling like cars and like, I'll take the best offer. Okay, I got $10 and a taco pack from Taco Bell. Can that get me the car? That's my best offer. And I love it when they put free on there too. Or like $1, like a 2010 something, $1, and I'm like, really? I got $1. Let's buy it. You got the title? But yeah, it's things like that. I just wish people would actually sort of kind of know how to, or investigate more into how to do business. People get on the internet, and one of my big things is that there's not a human side to it. You know what I mean? There's nobody that's actually saying, hey, you're still a human being, even though you're just a screen and a name, And a lot of times they'll play that stuff too. I've had a lot of people just hit me with insane offers that I'm like, if you would have been standing in my face, you wouldn't have offered me that, because it's crazy. But yeah, that's the first Chris versus the internet. Basically, I'm going to get on here and rant about something on the internet for just a few minutes and get into it. But I wanted to talk about something that really bothered me. I was listening to the Joe Rogan podcast, and he had Tommy Chong on there, and I've gotten a lot of hate from Twitter on this when I commented about this, but I really don't give a shit, so here we go. Tommy Chong got on there, and the questions of guns and gun ownership was brought up, and if he doesn't want one, hey, that's fine with me. He doesn't need to have one. If you're not going to take the time to understand, train with it, do the things that a responsible gun owner should do, store it properly, then yeah, you probably don't need to have one. But my big issue was him coming out and saying that gun owners are all ignorant and we're all paranoid. First off, let me just start off with the big one. He called me ignorant, or most gun owners ignorant, and no, that is farthest from the truth. The actual definition is to do something without knowing. That's paraphrased, but I actually looked it up, and basically the same meaning. Ignorance is having no knowledge of before doing. So I don't understand why he said that, gun owners are ignorant when some of us are actually more well-trained and more well-versed than most of the people that, don't have guns and think that we need to have strict gun control and nobody should own weapons and everything like that. And I didn't understand paranoid when I'm like, have you not watched the news here lately? It's really not a good thing going on. As far as in the news with everything going on in the country, I live about 2.5 hours from Memphis, and God, it is horrible in Memphis. It was horrible in my hometown, which is about 80 miles east of Memphis on I-40, Jackson, Tennessee, and it's not getting any better down there either. Where I live, it's pretty peaceful. Nothing really happens, but we've also got the meth heads around here breaking into churches, so there's that. And I don't think being paranoid is quite the word that you would need to say. Maybe the word you wanted to use is aware. I don't think you can go ahead and get around the fact that these things happen, that, we need to be aware of them. And that if you're prepared for them, that doesn't make you a bad person. That just makes you a Boy Scout. But nevertheless, got sort of off topic here. What I really wanted to go in was his opinion. And you can have an opinion on this stuff. That's fine. That's your right as an American. It's in the Constitution that you can have freedom of speech, and we can debate different political topics and whatnot, freely without threat of reprisal. But when you have an opinion that insults others, I don't think that's where you need to be. There was an old Southern saying that goes, you can catch more flies with sugar than salt. And if you want to change people's minds, you need to actually, give them facts. Tommy Chong just basically said, "Oh no, they're ignorant, they're paranoid. We don't even need to talk about it anymore. Let's move on." And bless Joe Rogan, he actually sort of kind of stuck up and was like, "Man, that's a horrible way to think about that." I can't believe you say that. He was trying to actually say, "Hey, look, are you really saying this?" But yeah, if you're gonna have an opinion, just make it a positive one, or don't try to insult everybody. I see that so much today in the media, as if that you have anything going on, anything, and people just get so butthurt about everything. If I'm a Donald Trump fan, then I'm this and I'm that. I had a message I reported to Facebook because somebody put on there Republican, but instead of, the normal spelling with a C, they put 3 Ks to try to, say that somebody is a racist because they're Republican. That makes no sense whatsoever. And it's really going to come into play, I think, also, too, in these here elections, because that's what happened in 2016, and nobody really sort of kind of took note, so it's going to happen probably again in 2020. But Tommy Chong was a real big one. Like I said, if you're going to have an opinion, that's fine. I don't even care if you agree with my opinion, but there's certain civility that we're missing, and I think a lot of it has become with the technology. Also, too, different previous changes from different areas. Maybe leadership in the country is one of them. Previous leadership of the country before our current president made it easier, sort of kind of changed the game. I also think, too, that there's less people taking responsibility, and there's no real consequences for the actions. But if you're... it's a whole bunch of stuff, but just to get back to it, if you're going to have an opinion, just be cordial about it, man. And you don't have to, agree with everybody. If you don't like somebody's opinion, then don't do it. Don't agree with them, Don't fight about it. It's not really that crucial. I have a lot of friends, or a few friends, that probably would disagree with a lot of my views on stuff. They may want somebody else for president, and that's fine. That's their right. But I don't really dwell on it with them. I think we've forgotten that politics is not an identity, and political opinions are not an identity. They're just your opinions. They may be based on different things that's happened in your lifetime, different events that may have not occurred in somebody else's that you have. But I don't think it's right to just go ahead and automatically start going to the insults when you want to talk about these opinions. Just to wrap this up, because I have just started rambling, and, well, I think we've got the point across. We're going to go ahead and end the show for right now. We're going to try to do a podcast, like I said, every week. We're still working on the YouTube channel. I don't even know how to work the equipment yet. You think I got a YouTube channel printed up yet? No. I don't even know how I'm going to upload this to YouTube. I'm still working on that side of it. And I can even pause the podcast to even stop. So if something happens, it's just going to happen. We're going off the cuff here. There's no script. I've got like 4 bullet points I'm going to talk about for this show. Hopefully more on the next show. I'll have some more questions written up. But you guys stay cool. Have a great Memorial Day. It is Memorial Day for me. It's been great. I've sort of kind of been chilling, haven't been going to work, but I'm probably going to stop in at the shop a little later for a few hours to work today. But I hope your week goes great, and I will try to have my next podcast up here Sunday by midnight. Check out the YouTube channel. It's going to be called Redneck Finishing School. We're also going to get on the Twitter. Same thing. We'll have a name next week for you on the Twitter, so if you want to follow us, and we'll be trying to get on there and get some interesting content and stuff before we do more podcasts. Y'all have a great weekend and a great Memorial Day, and I will see you next week.